So the miscellaneous locations, again, like I said before, these wouldn't necessarily just be towns, smaller ones, but also the different natural landmarks. These probably aren't all of the ones that could be present. Some of them would be important, some of them would have like very big roles in a potential game that I could envision. Other ones would just be kind of mentioned, would just kind of be there. But let's go over them in the same order we went through the cities. We're gonna go from the bottom left, go around. The first place are the 7 Riwa lakes, very close to the capital Sofia. A very beautiful location, a very gorgeous landmark. I've never personally been there, sadly. I would love to go there at some point. But in a potential Pokemon game, I could very much see these being referenced. And I could see them being referenced not as 7 lakes, but maybe 5 lakes. You know, limit the number a little bit. I could see this being a ritual spot of some kind, a place of ceremony, where each of the Elite Four members and the champion go there, and each of them have a lake that they stand next to for this ceremony. So at the end of the game, when you become champion, you would go there as well with the other Elite Four, and you would take part in this ceremony. You would be crowned officially as the new champion. I could even see this being where the Elite Four actually is, because Riwa is not just famous for these 7 lakes, but it is also the highest mountain in the Balkans. The hill Musawa in Riwa is the biggest hill in the Balkans. So if there would be a place for the Elite Four, Riwa would be it. Mount Musawa would be it. So this would be a very prominent place to have not just the Elite Four, but have this ceremony as well. I think, as I mentioned earlier, having more a folklore theme to this region, show more the connection between people and Pokemon, go more into ancient rituals and stories that they tell. I think this would be absolutely perfect. Next up is actually a place I very recently learned about. This somehow escaped my grasp. Tsarichina, which is a bit north of Sofia, a bit north of Saga City. This place has a weird story, a weird history. And I'm not gonna go through all of it, because there are multiple 30-40 minute videos on YouTube about Tsarichina. You feel free to go watch them if you want. They are weird. It is a very bizarre story. Interesting, but bizarre. But the short version is, the military wanted to dig here in Tsarichina. The cover story was that there is ancient treasure buried here, but the real reason is I think they thought there is something important buried here. Not treasure, just something important. But the problem is that every single machine that was used to dig broke. And every single person who tried digging with a shovel fell sick. Whatever is here in Tsarichina, it is believed to be cursed. Now, is it spirits? Is it aliens? Nobody knows, because nobody's been able to dig deep enough. But either way, I can see this being a great location to put an event of some kind. Maybe it's ghosts, maybe it's a curse. That would be a great place to put Spiritomb over here. A very, very cursed existence. Or if it's aliens, if we go that route, something like Behem could be found here. Maybe you unleash an alien invasion onto this Bulgaria region. Or maybe it could be the location for a mythical or a legendary. That's also a possibility. So this is a bit more of a somewhat obscure place. It's not really a tourist destination, but it does have a weird history, and Pokemon love their weirdness. So maybe this could be somehow connected to Saga City, to the capital of the region, that you go there for a one-off event, maybe. But either way, it would be a neat thing to include into the games. Next up on the road from Saga City to Cauldron City, from Sofia to Kazanluk, is the tallest waterfall in the Balkans, the Heavenly Sprinkler. Could it be radiation in real life? Entirely. Nobody actually knows what the reason is. It's just weird. Nobody's been able to figure things out. So it's kind of been abandoned since then. It could be radiation. It could be anything. That's probably the most realistic explanation, rather than curses, but nah, we honestly don't know. And I feel like that makes it interesting to put in a game as a reference. But as I was saying, between Sofia and Kazanluk is the Heavenly Sprinkler, Rajsko Praskau, which is the tallest waterfall in the Balkans. I don't think this would be a prominent location. I don't think there'd be like a quest involved into it, but I think it would be part of the landscape. As you travel between these two cities, there would be a very, very big waterfall. Because Pokemon like putting in things like this. Like when they take two cities and they translate them into Pokemon, if these two cities in real life have like 3 bridges between them, in Pokemon there will also be 3 bridges as a reference. So they love doing this. So the Heavenly Sprinkler might not be important, but there would be a big waterfall just chilling there. And next up, I'm gonna talk about this a lot, actually, because be prepared to hear me rant, be prepared for a lecture. Buzludzha, right north of Kazanluk, right north of Cauldron City, is an abandoned monument from the old communist regime. I don't think it was ever actually finished. I think it was close to being finished, and then the communist regime fell. And I thought to myself, maybe Buzludzha would be used as the spot for the Elite Four, where you go in and you challenge the 4 strongest people in the region, and then you fight the champion, and you become the new champion. But the more I thought about it, the more it didn't make sense, because Buzludzha does not represent the current leadership. Right? That's the entire point. It represents the old leadership, the leadership we chased out, basically, the unwanted leadership. So it didn't make sense for it to be the Elite Four building, because the Elite Four are the current strongest, the current leadership. They are the people who trainers in the Pokemon world look up to and they aspire to be like. The communist regime is not that exactly. So it didn't make sense. So I had a different idea, and this is where I started cooking. This is where I started thinking about the story. What would the plot of this potential game be? What would the storyline be if Bulgaria was a Pokemon region? Buzludzha would not be the current Elite Four building, but the former Elite Four building. The former Elite Four and the former champion, the 5 strongest trainers, they abused their power. They did not treat the people, did not treat the Pokemon with the respect that one should. So, the current Elite Four challenged all of them, they won, and kicked the old Elite Four out. They abandoned the building and they moved over to Rila, where I mentioned the 7 lakes, the 5 lakes I should say. They made a new building for the new Elite Four. And the old Elite Four eventually would come back as the Evo team. The champion, the former champion, would be the new leader of the Evo team, and the former Elite Four would be his lieutenants. And their goal would be to undermine the current Elite Four, the current gym leaders. They want to take back control, but this time they're not being as, as secretive about their intentions. And wouldn't you know it, Buzludzha underneath this building that you see in front of you, Buzludzha has bunkers. There are underground tunnels, which would be in a Pokemon game used as the lair of the evil team, an entire underground building that they would operate from and try to take back the control they once had. This would also go into the politics of the games, because the one thing I've never liked is that the Elite Four are just kind of there. The local Team Rocket equivalent, yeah, exactly. And I do see them as being more similar to Team Rocket, because the main argument against evil teams is that Team Rocket felt like a threat. They were a mafia, basically. They were more grounded. But the teams after that, they kind of had more grand goals. They wanted to unleash great world-ending evils. They wanted to fill the world with water. They were more big in scale. Team Rocket was a mafia. They went up in your face and they bullied you and they stole from you. And I could see this team being in a similar vibe. Have them be more down to earth. They're not here to unleash some great ancient evil. They're not here to cover the world in shadow. They're just here to take over. So this could be potentially more similar to Team Rocket, having it be a more personal vibe that Team Rocket had. And it would also go into the politics of the Elite Four. Who are the Elite Four? Because the main thing I wanted with the gym leaders is for them to not just be gym leaders. I like it when the gym leaders also have their own professions. They have work outside of being a gym leader. And that's why I wanted to give every single gym leader more of a goal. They don't just sit in the gym all day waiting to battle. They also have jobs. They also have hobbies. They do other things than being a gym leader. But the Elite Four have never really had that. With a story like this, you could really go into who the Elite Four are, what they do, what they stand for, how they influence the region, how much control they have over the region. You could really get into that. And of course, after you defeat the evil team, because, spoiler alert, you defeat the evil team, that's kind of a thing that happens all the time. After you defeat them, after you become champion, the champion that you defeat would go around and they would recruit the lieutenants of the evil team, the former Elite Four. They would recruit them, give them a chance for redemption, because Pokemon also love their redemption arcs, and would build a new battle frontier, because I am a basic bitch when it comes to Pokemon, okay? I like battle frontiers. Give me all the battle frontiers. A bit of an end game challenge for those who want it, and I want it. I like the frontiers, I like the trainers, the frontier brains as they're called. I like them as a concept. And with this potential storyline, because the leader of the evil team is gonna disappear. Maybe they, get unalived. I guess that's how I'm supposed to say it these days. They get unalived. Maybe they get sent to the Shadow Realm. I don't know. But they would be gone. And the lieutenants, the former Elite Four, are left behind. They don't know what to do. And they are given a chance at redemption. A feel-good story. This would be very much a feel-good story, something to lighten the mood. And that's what Buzludzha would be. This entire thing got me thinking, and it was very much... It was a great train of thought, right? Because I saw Buzludzha, I thought Elite Four. Then I thought, no, it doesn't make sense. Maybe the former Elite Four. But why is it the former Elite Four building? What happened? Did they abandon it? No, there was another. It just kept going. The ideas kept really pouring in from one to another. And that's how it happened. That's how this entire rant came to be. So we're gonna move over from Buzludzha for a little bit. We're gonna continue. The next part, a bit to the south, are the Wondrous Bridges. Чудните мостове. The Wondrous Bridges, I mean, you can see they are bridges. They are actually rock formations that happen to look like bridges. There are several of them. There's like 4 or 5, I think. Don't quote me on this. But not all of them can be climbed. Some of them you can climb on top of, some of them you can actually cross like bridges. But in this Pokemon world, these bridges, I can see them being exaggerated. Have them be much bigger, span a huge area. Have them go several levels. You go up, you go down, right? These rocky bridges. And have this unique landscape, this unique view will be created from the bridges. Every leader goes to Pokemon North Korea. Yeah, the ultimate prison. Send them over to a gulag somewhere. And a bit to the south of the Wondrous Bridges would be the Devil's Throat, Дьяволското гърло, which is a cave system, and this is something I also learned recently. It has the tallest underground waterfall in the Balkans. Because that's also a thing for some reason, and that's also something that's measured. So I figure big old cave system, you would use waterfall to get around, travel up, down waterfalls, travel through underground lakes, explore some hidden areas. I'm not sure what the significance would be, but you know, it's here. I don't know what it would play in the grander story, but it is a location. It is a very interesting location, a unique thing, as we have the tallest waterfall, the tallest underground waterfall, and there is another waterfall that I will mention in a bit. But before we get to that, south of Kazanluk, south of Cauldron City, are the stone mushrooms, a forest in quotes, I will put it in quotes, a forest of bizarre rock formations that look like mushrooms. And there's a lot of them. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure why, but they're there. I don't know if they'd be prominent in the Pokemon region, if there would be a story connected to them, or if they just be a weird landmark you walk past. Because not everything needs to be connected with a grand story. Some things can just be in the background, right? These stone mushrooms could just be in the background. Maybe we never get to learn why they're like this, but they are there. Yeah, blame the Fae. Summon a giant stone fairy. It's a weird fairy's ring made of stones. So that would be on the road, and the end of the road would be Perperikon, which is like one of the oldest ruined cities from ye olden days. It is an archaeological site, and this could be maybe where you first meet the archaeologist gym leader. Yeah, maybe you come over here, you meet them, they introduces himself. I made him a man. I already told you who it is. It's Praswav. This is where you would meet Praswav, potentially. Maybe he has a quest for you at some point. Maybe he reveals some hidden lore about the history of the region. But I feel like Perperikon, the ruins of Perperikon, are such a prominent thing. There would need to be an equivalent of this. They would need to be represented in some way. So that's why I put them here. Next up, moving all the way to the northeast, just north of Burgas, north of Sea Spire City, are two things. They're kind of next to each other, so I put them on the same slide. But the first one is the Stone Desert, a grouping of stones called the Planted Stones. Just like the mushrooms, these are very uniquely shaped rocks, and they're just there. And the stone desert is actually a desert, and I didn't actually know this beforehand. And they have a very polite cat guide, apparently, yeah. Apparently the guides who... And I also learned this from December as well. Apparently the people who give tours in the stone desert, in the Plants and Stones, apparently there's cats. And apparently cats just know the way and they lead people there, and that's adorable. So maybe there would be a cat there somewhere. Maybe you can catch some cats over here in the Pokemon world. But the thing I actually learned from this is actually a desert. I actually didn't know this beforehand. This is legitimately a desert, one of the few deserts in Europe. I knew this place is like sandy and rocky, but I didn't know it's actually officially a desert. So you'd be able to catch some desert-dwelling Pokemon here. Maractus... Look, Maractus always gets put on lists of forgotten Pokemon. People apparently forget about Maractus. I think Maractus is like one of the cutest Pokemon in the entire franchise. Of the 1000 plus Pokemon, I think I would put this in my top 10 cutest, honestly. Maybe even top 5. I just like it. The moment I first saw it, I knew it had to be the grass type on my team. So it's very sad that people forget about it. But nearby this path, it's not exactly the same spot, but somewhere over to the side, but we're not gonna put a different thing for everything. Over here is also the Saltworks. This is a salt mine from the 5th century BC. It is one of the oldest buildings, one of the oldest structures. I'm not sure if in Europe or if in the world in general. Either way, extremely old. And I very recently learned about this as well. So because there are the Saltworks, obviously Garganacl, which is literally a salt-based Pokemon, would be found here specifically. You'd go in and you'd find your Garganacls. So this would be on the path from Seaspire, from Burgas to Varna. To Kavarna, not Varna. I forgot I abandoned Varna, it's not there, Kavarna. And just above this, just something based on the Golden Sands. Maybe not specifically the Golden Sands, just in general, just a smaller town that's on the beach, some resort type thing. And there have been like a few. There was one in Unova as well, where you even get a house. You're gifted a house in a similar town to this. But it would just be a transitioning point. Honestly, I don't see it being a bigger part of the games. Just something more smaller and more peaceful, I suppose. And over here, right next to Pliska, is the Madara horseman, one of our most famous sites, a UNESCO heritage site. So a very prominent, a very important feature, the Madara horseman. Madara is the name of the place, and it is a stone carving of an unnamed horseman. Nobody knows who this person is, nobody knows who it represents, but they're here. It is also it's also deceptively small. I thought it would be a lot bigger than it actually is. I could never seen actually a scale of how big or small it is. I've only seen photos like this, right? I've only seen a picture of it. I've never seen it actually compared to anything else. But in the Pokemon world, in the Pokemon region, this would be some kind of unnamed hero. Someone from the distant past. Someone maybe who the historian Kendra would be interested in. It's like the size of your monitor, very, very little. Yeah, no, it's really small. I thought it was like a giant carving, something big and grand, but no, it's not. It's tiny. But yeah, this one would be something that Kendra would be interested in. Maybe this unnamed hero would play part in the story in some way. Maybe both Kendra and Preswaf, the historian and the archaeologist, they would join forces. They would try to uncover traces of this ancient hero. How big in meters? We're not really talking. It's more centimeters. I don't think it even goes past 1 meter. It's that tiny. It's less than a meter. But despite the size, look, it's not about the size. It's how you use it. Okay, it's it's above average. It's an above average carving. Let's leave it at that. So let's go a bit to the west. Survey says 2.5 meters to 3 meters. Oh, I thought it was smaller than that. Okay. I guess it's because it's far away. It looks smaller. Yeah, it's high up on the cliff, so you don't really see it. Hello, Dumshi. Hello, welcome in. Thank you for the wishes. Why the bonk? Why bonking? I'm over here having a good time. Self-care package. Thank you. I do need to drink. I've been speaking for a while now. I do need a drink. God, there's so much talking involved. Why did I agree to do this? Why did I decide to do this? So, the next smaller location would be Lovech. But not specifically Lovech. There is a very popular landmark in Lovech called the Covered Bridge, which I have been to. It is, yeah, it's nice. It's not really that grand. It's souvenir shops and cafes. That's about it. You can buy some souvenirs, you can order a cafe, and that's about it. But Unova, which I've mentioned a lot in the past, has a place called the Village Bridge. So I feel like we could make something similar here as well. Not have this place based on Lovech, but just on the Covered Bridge. Make this a big old, nice old bridge. And inside on the bridge are some buildings, some magazines, a Poke Center, you know, that kind of thing. Because the place itself is very prominent, it is very famous. So I feel like we could reference it in this way as well. And right next to Lovech, that's also the main reason I wanted the Covered Bridge to be here, is because next to Lovech is another very, very prominent landmark, the cave Prohodna, and the formation inside called the God's Eyes. This, as you can see, is a very eerie formation, both very eerie and very beautiful. 2 eye-shaped holes in the ceiling that allow you to see the sky above. And if it's at night and you can see the moon through one of these eyes, it's even more grand and magical. In this location, in a Pokemon world, I can easily see both of these, you know, openings to be somehow connected to the box legendaries. You stand under one of the openings or next to one of the openings and you perform some kind of ritual and you somehow summon one of the legendaries, whichever version you have of the game. If this isn't connected to the legendaries, I don't know what purpose it would serve. This needs to be present, right? If Bulgaria was a Pokemon region, this would need to be present. There's no way you could avoid this. It is honestly just too perfect. It is... it's insane how good this would fit in a Pokemon region. Nope, I went backward for some reason. Okay, so I mentioned waterfalls. This is the third one. So over in Vratsa, there is the waterfall Skaklya, which is the tallest impermanent waterfall. And what that means is Skaklya does not have a water source of its own. It's only a waterfall when it rains or when snow melts. That's the only time there is water running. So it's not technically much of a waterfall, but I could see there being a puzzle of some kind, a weather-based puzzle. Maybe you said you need to come back, come to this area when there's rain to progress, and then you need to wait for the rain to stop, and then to progress there when it's dry. Or maybe you can somehow manipulate the weather with rain dance, with, similar moves. Either way, I can see there being a weather-based puzzle. You can somehow progress further in, when the weather changes. So this will be present here. Also next to Wradza is the cave system, the cave of Ledenika, which is one of the more prominent caves in Bulgaria. It's not, it's not the biggest, it's not the oldest, but it is very prominent. It is a big tourist attraction. So with Ledenika and Skaklya, they will be here also to act as a buffer for the final two locations. Because I did also need a place to divert, and having a cave system would really fit in. I'll be going, you can have fun because I sure did. Thank you so much, December. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for being here. So, and with Skaklya and Ledenika being here, we can go to the north to visit Kozloduy. Not specifically Kozloduy itself, but Pokemon likes their power plants. There are a lot of power plants, and I think there's a power plant in every single region? You can't access all of them. I think Kalos never opened their power plant, which many people complained about. Many people didn't like that. But there is a power plant. So there will be one here as well. This is our only nuclear power plant, so it will be in Pokemon as well. I don't know if it will have any significance or just the location you visit, but it would be here. It would be present. And the final location is Belogradchik, with these unique rock formations, these tall stone pillars. And the immediate first thought I had, because Generation 6, Kalos, the X and Y games, they had sky battles, which, to put it briefly, sky battles can only be fought with Pokemon that are either the flying type or they levitate. Those are the only ones that can take part in sky battles, and many people didn't like them. They didn't like the way they were implemented, because sky battles, you would have like one trainer somewhere on a road who, if you didn't have a Pokemon that meets the requirements, you can't fight them. So I feel like, didn't you go there in X and Y? Maybe there was a similar location. I don't think, there's no reason to go to Belogradchik in X and Y, because that's France. That's a bit far away. Maybe there was a similar location. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played. But if we were to actually implement sky battles in a more coherent way, put all of them here. Have these magnificent stone pillars. First of all, exaggerate them, make them a lot bigger, and have the characters go from pillar to pillar in a kind of a wind-based puzzle. And maybe you would need a flyer or a levitating Pokemon to go through it. Maybe there'd be bridges. Either way, you would traverse them in some way, and you would have to fight strong winds to do so. And at the end would be the headquarters of the Sky Battle Association, or whatever you want to call it. But this would be similar to the castles or the mansions that we've had before. You would exclusively fight here with flyers and levitators, so you can make a team of that if you want. You can do it now or post-game, whatever you want. make a team of flyers, come here, and take part in sky battles. I feel like this would be better implemented, rather than just have them scattered, one person here, one person there. Have them all be just in one place. Have them be a bit more organized. I feel like that would solve the issues that many people had in Gen 6. I feel like this is a bit more coherent. The girl was cute. Yeah, she is. Many of the Pokemon art, many of the characters are very adorable. They're very cute. But this is the vision I have of Belogradchik. This is the immediate thought I had. A big wind-based puzzle, and this is where sky battles would be fought, because I like sky battles. Even though they weren't implemented well in Gen 6, I feel like putting them all in one place is a bit better. So this is my vision. The other one is a guy. I'm pretty sure it's a guy, yeah. The blonde one is the girl, the one with the brown hair is a guy. Most trainer classes have like a male and female version. Most of them have like counterparts. This is what these guys look like. And that is all of the locations I could come up with that would be present in the region, outside of the 8 main cities with the gyms. Maybe there are places I missed. There definitely are other beautiful locations. Maybe something else could have been also added in. Maybe I forgot something. But again, I also don't know everything. Maybe I've missed something obvious. Maybe I missed something obscure. Maybe I just didn't know about it. But those are the places I believe would work really well in the Pokemon region. And I hope you agree. If you didn't know about any of these places, maybe you learned something. Maybe you have more knowledge than me. If you do, feel free to comment your ideas. What else could be present?